so in this case, because I was offered this position, I knew that if I didn't do it, they were going to offer it to someone else. They would hire somebody to try to replicate the kind of work my father did.
Hmm.
I felt that I worked there long enough that I earned an opportunity to give it a shot, you know. And if it didn't work, so be it. At least I took on the challenge, right?
Mm.
And I will say this too: my father was a pretty daunting figure. He was very well known in his career, and he used to say, "You know, kid, you can take this thing over when I retire." And I thought, "Oh, they're not gonna do that." But you know what happened in that dynamic? Because he passed on, and I knew that he was my cheerleader back here. I found my own voice.
Same business, different day.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. Let's always do what we do first. My name is Zeke Corley and I want to introduce my partner in pod, the leading Catwoman expert in San Diego, Alyssa Lee Good. How you doing?
I'm doing really great today, Zeke.
All
It's
right.
St. Patrick's Day.
It is St. Patrick's Day and we're
Yeah.
also recording during National Women's Month.
Ooh.
So thank you to you. Thank you to our guest as well. And let's celebrate this today.
Yes.
You know,
Wait, can we thank Nichelle too? Nichelle's in
let's
the room
let's
with
thank
us.
Nichelle
Yeah.
too. Yes, and thanks so
Working
much for
women.
your hard work. That's right. That's right. Are you thinking about starting a business? What's the difference between you and those that have already done it? The better question is what you have in common. Sometimes we don't know the services that we need until we meet the people behind them. Sometimes we don't know the business people that we want to get to know better until they find the right platform to express who they are personally. And sometimes when people talk about us or talk to us about work, they say, do what you love what you do. But we may not really understand what that means until we've actually met someone who embodies that. Today, the Same Business, Different Day podcast is glad to have just that type of guest. Let's welcome Frosene Phillips to the show.
Oh, thank you. What a great introduction. Oh my gosh, could I take you with me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I miss being up there where you are. So I'd love to come visit. Frosene, we have rules to this podcast, so we're going to let Alyssa tell them.
That's right.
Okay.
So we're here to talk about you, Frosene. We want to get to know you and your professional life. But first, we want to get to know about how you got to where you are now. We want to know about your journey. So before we reveal what you do professionally, we'll talk about you a little bit. And when it feels right, Zeke will do the reveal for you, and we'll talk about your professional stuff.
Oh, I love it.
It's a big secret.
I love secrets.
I have a feeling that we're going to get to the reveal fast on this one.
Probably, yeah. There's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. But let's start, though, Frosene, with where you grew up.
I was born in Oakland, California, and I lived until I was 5 in San Lorenzo, and then my parents bought a house in Hayward, and I really grew up in Hayward, California, and then they built a house. They moved to Alamo when I was after I graduated from high school. So I lived pretty much around the Bay Area, and so but most of my childhood years, if that's what you're looking for, were in Hayward, and it was a great place to grow up.
Yeah.
I saw the difference between my younger siblings growing up in Alamo and me growing up in Hayward.
Okay. Well, shout out the town where you were actually born, Oakland.
That's where I say I'm from, because that's where my heart is, and I spend a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That's where I lived before I moved down here 21 years ago. But, all of my buddies are still out there in Oakland. And actually, one of my best friends is the head coach of Oakland High School, a basketball team. So, and I understand that's where your dad went to high school.
That's where my dad went to high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
we tend to talk a lot about our influences, and in what I've been reading about you, it sounds so much like your dad's been a huge influence to you. So we like to talk about mentors and so forth, but really, can we just take a couple minutes and just talk about your dad?
yeah, I'd love to. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a he was a force, a force of nature. Really, he died young at 67. But my
Mm.
dad was also born in actually he was born in Oklahoma, and his family moved out to California when he was like 11 years old, and he lived in Oakland, went to Oakland High, and did all that. Also was very involved in the Oakland church there, the Greek church, but then went to the army with a Greek battalion as a teenager and served in the OSS, which I like to mention because that was, when you're 17, 18 years old, those are formative years. And if you don't know what the OSS is, it was the Office of Strategic Services, which was the forerunner to the CIA.
Hmm.
And all the different ethnic groups had their own group, and they were paratroopers behind enemy lines during World War
Wow.
II. That that changed their lives. They grew up fast, and I mention it because it also sort of plays into who he was. My mother calls me Perry in a skirt because I still I do
Perry's his nickname, right? Is it Pericles? Or,
Perry. Pericles is the birth name, correct?
uh
And Perry was what they called him, Perry. And where he really, besides our younger lives, where I'm sure what you read a lot about was he was the nightclub editor for the Oakland Tribune.
right.
And so that's why I always used to say I grew up in bars and showrooms because so as a nightclub editor, he was writing 3 columns a week, and in those days he would cover everything from San Francisco to the Bay Area and Reno, Tahoe, and Las Vegas, and entertainers did stints for 2 weeks at a time. They had opening nights, and so we'd tag along and go to Tahoe. So it was a really colorful childhood. But his work he had a lot of musical work in the Greek Orthodox Church as a young man and throughout his life as well, and through choral programs and concerts, and he produced concerts too, and he did a lot. He was, he exposed us to the world in a different way. And I have to say too, the other thing I appreciated about that as a child was, the relationships between celebrities and the media was different then. They didn't have handlers like they have now, and we often went backstage, and he often talked to uh, many people from, Don Rickles and gosh, I could name a gazillion people that
Oh,
Frank
wow.
Worth and Wayne. They all were starting out, and so he saw them in lounges and small rooms, and then they became big names. But they maintained their relationships. So we went backstage, and I got to see them as real people.
Oh, how cool.
They're real people. Anyway, but it was it was amazing. So he wrote for 29 years.
Wow.
He
Yeah.
So in his writing, I mean, is he reviewing? Is he just announcing that they're coming to town? Is he like what is he writing?
Good question. He was a critic. In
Okay.
fact, so he
Now
started in
critics
the
aren't
early.
always favored.
Mm-mm.
No, they aren't. But
Mm-mm.
he was a critic, and he also wrote about restaurants. And one thing that always stuck with me when he reviewed restaurants is he said he adopted the Duncan Hines philosophy, which was he preferred to use his space to recommend rather than tell people where not to go.
There we
Right.
go.
You know what I mean? So, because he knew, the power of the pen in those days, it could make a big difference too on someone's business. Now, the shows and things like that, it was opening night. He would review, and if he offered any criticism, I would say it was more of a constructive nature, not just, if he had a suggestion, he would put that into his work. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And but yeah, so he was a combination of both, and then that changed later on down the road in the industry in general, in terms of having, they had individual restaurant critics
Hmm.
and,
Well,
and
I mean,
entertainment,
that kind of makes him like a master communicator, right? I mean, because you have to have a way with words to get along with the people that you are, quote unquote, criticizing.
Yeah, yeah, I would say, and what else? He had a really good eye for talent, I have to tell you. and a great eye for bringing people together, and that was just a strength of his. And he was the kind of person that could, always sort of sell his dreams, for lack of a better way to put it. So if he was producing, like he put on a big show once at the Paramount Theater with all the local clubs, all the different entertainers that were performing in the local clubs, like when he'd make his rounds in Jack London Square or down in Hayward at Frenchie's, or you know what I mean? And he got the piano bar players and the trios and all of these people to come together, and he put on a variety show to help raise money for the Oakland Symphony. And but he would, the way he'd work, he'd say, so and so's going to be, and so else is going to be in, and they didn't want to miss it, And that same thing happened with his big Greek shows he produced up at Sahara Tahoe. It was fun. So anyway, but
it's funny. I used to work at the old spaghetti factory in Jack London Square.
Oh gosh!
Did you?
Yeah,
really?
that was.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like maybe 4 years I worked there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The cheese. Love that.
The Mazzetta cheese. Oh yeah, that is what do we call it? A Greek blend of ricotta and Romano, I believe.
Oh, that's
He's
hilarious.
always the salesperson.
It's so good.
There's got to be a
good.
tag.
Hey, I'm curious. So growing up with this, did you and your dad ever confide in each other on these critiques? Did you read his critiques? Did he ever ask your opinion on things?
That's a good question. First of all, when I started to work for him, which is, I won't go too down the road, but a little bit, I used to proofread sometimes his column for him because he would type. In those days you type.
Mm-hmm.
And you had like 4 carbons. A copy went over here and one went over there, and right. So I would look for this little things, but as we got older and we were a little, young and hip and stuff, and we saw some of the younger acts. He was my sister and I especially. So I'm the oldest of 5, and my sister Elena and I are just like 13 months apart. So we tend to go a lot with him. Then our next sister, who was 3 years younger, she started to come along too, so he used to pick our brains a little bit, on, but I'll tell you something about my father. He did not take notes when he would watch a show. He had an incredible memory, and he would hear stuff. And, the thing that I appreciate about having that life experience that you underestimate when you're just living your life, right? And I couldn't pay for this education that I got tagging along, and just watching him in action, and just the things he heard and listened to, watching a full big review or show or musical theme, or so-and-so's doing this, or they borrow from that, and he would get so excited.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And they'd say, he'd write stuff, and they'd say, well, I never saw you take a note. No,
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He could. So much different in the social media age now, because everybody now is just taking pictures and tweeting during the show, and they're not actually paying attention to the show, right?
The Film Hub is the future of co-working right in downtown Vista. Get energized to go to a safe work environment that is clean and sanitized. Create video content, live stream events, and all of your marketing material in our audio and video facility. Come and visit us at thefilmhubinc.com.
The Vista Chamber of Commerce is a proud supporter of the Same Business, Different Day podcast. We support our business members with promotion and marketing, business referrals, educational opportunities, workforce development, and advocacy. Check us out online at vistachamber.org.
You need insurance, and you need yourinsuranceplace.com as your brokers. And I'll tell you why. They have access to hundreds of carriers, and we're never left without results. Not even the hard-to-place risks. A good insurance broker is a problem solver. Our team is dedicated to getting you covered. Take time to shop with yourinsuranceplace.com. Save money, get protected. yourinsuranceplace.com.
What a big difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'll tell you that I references OSS being in the service. The work that they did then was classified, and they could not talk about it for 50 years. Can you imagine?
Okay. That makes sense.
They could not talk about what they did during the war because it was classified.
Sure.
These missions. secret, that for 50 years. That they did finally after that time, and they did recognize them a couple of years ago that all those servicemen and women.
Hmm.
No wonder you like secrets.
Thank you. I know. I can't help myself. I have a couple siblings. I don't like secrets. That's too bad. If I'm doing it, yeah. No.
Frosene, what was your first job?
Okay, let's see. Babysitting.
There you go. That's it.
That's entrepreneurial.
50 cents an hour for the little girl across the street, and then I would say my first real job then was, I guess it was a summer, and I went to work for my dad. I was going to junior college at Dibble Valley College, and I went to help him out in the summer. And
Okay.
I think I was there for, I don't know, almost 5 years on and off, and then until I got married but
What were you doing with your
yeah,
dad?
I was his assistant. So he was like his own little operation. And what I would do was not only did he have his column, there was also a whole advertising arm to all of that with the hotels and the local restaurants and the clubs all advertised through his office. And so I would help do all the layouts and the selling and calling people and you name it. It was a pretty extensive training that served me in my life in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Just dealing with people, organizing, managing special sections and what have you. So that's a short version. Late nights, deadlines.
It's a lot of responsibility.
We were at the Oakland Tribune, the big, beautiful tower that's a
Absolutely.
historical landmark. And
Yeah.
that's where he was all of his career. And then, he moved in different places. But, I remember I was there when they caught Patty Hearst, which is, you guys probably weren't even born yet, but she was kidnapped. And so, I always tell people if you cut my wrist, my veins, I would bleed ink because I was in the newspaper business for so many years. So when they caught Patty Hearst, I remember it was like, they actually printed the newspaper where everyone was working, so they kill the front page and make all the changes. And it was, adrenaline was flying. So, you see those movies. Yeah, I live that. And when I love to see papers stacked everywhere, it makes me feel like I'm in a newsroom.
You're real life Lois Lane.
Yes, yeah.
How old were you at this time, Frosene?
I was 20.
Okay. Early on. Okay, so let's get to the reveal because I think this is why the reveal comes early.
Okay.
Because, human beings are complex. We have many talents, hobbies, and interests. Do we take the time to hone them all? Not all of us. Today, it's our pleasure to expand with one of the few guests we've interviewed that has made a profession from almost all of her passions. Gumas Advertising, Mediterranean Soul, Elios Charitable Foundation, or we can simply call her Frosene on the scene.
Yep, that's right.
Let's welcome Frosene to the show.
Yay! Thanks. What a journey.
Tell us about it. Start with Frosene on the scene. I understand that started back in like 98 maybe? When did that start?
It sounds like a 90s thing.
I'll tell you, actually, so my father, it is. My father died in 1991, and it was a sudden. He had a stroke, and was at work. Went to work on Friday, had a stroke, and passed on over the weekend. Right, and the following Tuesday, they expressed an interest at the paper and hiring me if I was interested because they knew I'd worked for him on and off throughout the years. And anyway. That would never happen today, I don't think. You know what I mean? So I wrote my first column for a scene on the scene. That's what I named it, so that people would definitely maybe pronounce my name right. And it was catchy. So
it's great.
it really did help. So my father died on Cinco de Mayo in 1991,
Hmm.
and I wrote my first column on July 5th, 1991. And my father wrote for 29 years, and I'm approaching the almost 30. Yeah.
So you
So
kept it
I
going.
said when I started, oh, I won't do this for 20 years like Dad.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it was an interesting time. Robert Maynard was the publisher then. I don't know if you remember that. You guys are too young. And then I lived through many evolutions of the newspaper. It was the single Oakland Tribune, and then it became the Alameda Newspaper Group, and then it became the Bay Area News Group because they bought the San Jose Mercury News, and they bought the Contra Costa Times, and it was Fremont and all that, and that all changed. And
Wow.
so yeah, there was a little stint there though where I did a stint with the Hills Newspaper Group, which was a local paper. After there was a change of ownership, they laid everybody off and all that. But I didn't stop writing. I mean, it was still, and then I returned again, and
Hmm.
so yeah. But we only have one go around here, so it was hard to make a decision to just do one thing.
Sure.
In
Now,
reference to your info.
now
Yeah.
thinking about that, the part of the reason we do this podcast is to inspire young entrepreneurs, who, myself included, have so many passions, have so many things that we want to do. And it's hard to narrow it down and say, oh, I'm going to follow this one path. But that's not what you did. You had so many passions and took them all and made something out of it. And so how do you do something like that? How do you make a business out of everything? Not necessarily everything, but so many things that you're interested in.
That's a good question, and I think I will tell you that in some cases. So in this case, because I was offered this position, I knew that if I didn't do it, they were going to offer it to someone else. They would hire somebody to try to replicate the kind of work my father did.
Hmm.
I felt that I worked there long enough that I earned an opportunity to give it a shot, And if it didn't work, so be it. At least I took on the challenge, right?
Mm.
And I will say this too: my father was a pretty daunting figure. He was very well known in his career, and he used to say, "Kid, you can take this thing over when I retire." And I thought, "Oh, they're not gonna do that." But what happened in that dynamic? Because he passed on, and I knew that he was my cheerleader back here. I found my own voice, and I did not take the role of being a critic. I made the decision I don't have to be a critic. We have a theater critic, we have a food critic. I'm going to be more feature oriented and tell people what's going on. So that's the role I took, and I found my voice there. I also had a small stint prior to that being the publicist for Oakland Opera. They had a small opera. So I knew I had a writing skill, talent for that. But to your question, I started to sing when I was in my teens. I started singing with choir, and I found out I started out as an alto. I found out that out of necessity that my range was bigger than that.
Hmm.
So I became a mezzo. And then when I was 18, 19, some friends they start a band, a Greek band. And I sang with them, and we had fun, and we did it for like 3 years. And when we did these other shows, I'd sing with some of the big pros and do harmonies, and it was totally fun. And then it went away. Now I got married when I was 22, and I had my daughter when I was 24,
Mm.
and then sadly, my husband contracted pancreatic cancer, and he passed on after a valiant fight of 6 months. He was only 34 years old. He died of
Wow.
cancer
Wow.
when I was 26.
Ooh.
So I have to mention that because that changed everything. That changed the whole direction of my life, and also how I started to seek out and question, which you do anyway, what you're doing now, right?
Sure.
What do I choose? What am I going to do? I got to raise a baby. What do I want? And anyway, I went back to school for a few years, and I even went through a hotel restaurant management program. So this was before I took the Tribune on. But a couple years there, my dad was still before that torch was passed. Well, fast forward, I still continued to sing, what I decided was I always, I don't know, maybe I would have studied opera. Maybe I would have been a cabaret singer. I love standards and I do some of that. I love American Songbook and I love those, that kind of music as well and jazz. But how are you going to make a life? Women, people have done it. Women, men and women, you've done it. You're going to be working at night. I got to raise the baby. I didn't want to depend on my parents. I was strong-willed and wanted to try to make my life myself. I knew I wouldn't, I had a place to fall back on. But anyway, so here we are. And I worked for, like I mentioned earlier, I did go to work for the Oakland Opera for a few seasons. And then I also worked another kind of a freelance job where I got to travel. And that really opened up my world where I was I went to New York and Chicago, and I started to travel, but it was just small stints, which was great because I didn't want to leave my daughter. So I was torn. When you have a child, you got to raise your child. So what do you do?
Right.
I wanted to be there. So I did that for a little, my mom would watch her, or my mother-in-law at the time, and so by the time she was around 12, that's when I was doing then the blown on full time. And then I started, what I did was I kept my passion alive. So I was reconnected with some old friends, and I started they had a band, a Greek band, and I started to perform with them. We've been 20 years almost, right now. And we've made CDs. We've traveled together. It's so, what I'm trying to say about these things just started to show up for me, where it's not so much their business, and then I had the business savvy with the band, so I helped do the PR and all that, and the help with the website and social media. We had a standing joke when they first approached me. Oh, you only have to learn 10 songs. We just think if we have a singer, instead of being an instrumental group, it'll get us more gigs. 10 songs. Oh yeah, 10 songs turned into a music binder with American music, with Greek music. I'm schlepping band gear. I just
just 10 songs.
Anyway, but you know what? Getting paid was just secondary. You know what I mean? So, like when you talk about doing what you love, it's like, oh, and they're going to pay me too. It's like I'm not thinking about. Even though I've done sales work in my life and have to chase the dollars for that. We need money to be able to live and survive. But I found that if I just follow my heart and my passion and do what I love, that's the return. It just shows up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It'll just come for you. Sure, we have challenges along the way. Believe me, I had lean times.
Right?
Don't we all?
Clearly,
we all do. So so what I would say to you is that when you're faced with that, what do I want to do? What am I giving up, or all that? First I had to after I moved through grief work, which is really important, and I think that having losing a husband early in my life like that, or someone that you love deeply, and you think you're going to make your life with them,
right?
It put me in touch with my mortality, and that was his greatest gift to me, because I think we all need to be conscious of that, because it puts your life in perspective and what is important. And here we are. We just had COVID, right? We've all been going through COVID and loss, and it's touched everybody in one way or another. But I'm hoping that through that, we're going to be a better people for it, because I felt that we've been awfully spoiled here, and we're not connected that way necessarily with death as part of life. And it is part of life. And I think it will make your life richer if you embrace it, and don't be afraid of it.
Sure. I appreciate that. And I think that's great advice there. And that's a good conversation to have. I think that, you have a great outlook on life, and understanding that things will come your way. Sure, you take a job that's going to pay the bills, but also take on these things that come your way that involve things that you're passionate about, things that you enjoy, right? And whether or not they pay you right off is not as important as, it's good for you. It's good for your soul, right? You know what I'm really interested in too, Frosene, is when we talk about like the Frosene on the scene, right? We talk about the blogging and you got a chance to like cover new businesses, young entrepreneurs. You got a chance to talk to business owners and see, what they were going through, either their successes, their struggles, and so forth. How did that go? Like, how was your experience in seeing all of these business people out there?
I'll tell you something, because I've dealt with the smaller local business owner to the big corporations
Sure.
that are, bringing a show to town. My greatest love was working with our local businesses, and a lot of times, and I particularly have a soft spot for family businesses, and I found that having lived through this change with social media and even websites, right?
Right.
I saw that they would bring their children in to help them with their websites, or as they evolved and started to try to venture this new frontier. So for me, I would try to help them, with that. If there was any support I could bring to the table, or any other tools I could offer, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that was really gratifying, or connect. Like I do have that from my dad, connecting people, because my dad always said I was a resource. So, and I love that. I love helping people, bringing them together. I know somebody that you need to talk to. I just love that. That's going to help you, and So yeah, I mean, I've seen. I'll give you one great example that's really kind of fun.
Okay.
Maybe you've seen them before. In Castro Valley, there was a little pizzeria called Paisano's Pizza. Did you ever go there?
I'm not sure. They have one down here in San Diego, but I'm sure they're not affiliated.
I don't know with a PY, but I'll tell you, it was two brothers that started it, and one of the brothers taught himself how to throw the dough.
Okay.
And he didn't just throw the dough. He turned it into a show. I mean, this guy would roll it behind his back and open it on the floor, do it to music. He was very ambitious, very talented, smart, made great pizza. And his name is Tony Gimignani. And Tony would go in front of the restaurant and throw it and get people in. Well, next thing you know, he was making appearances locally because of the whole pizza act that he created.
Wow.
And that pizza act turned into its own enterprise where he was competing. He's a world pizza championship in Italy. I can't tell you how many times.
Wow.
What?
He's been on the Food Network many times. He's been on Johnny Carson, after Johnny Carson, what's his name, who already retired.
Letterman.
Come on, Letterman.
Uh-huh.
And the Today Show. I mean, I could just name a who's who. From starting his pizza, and I would write about him, He has a book. But guess what? And he had such great success. And he's got pizzerias now in various casinos and stuff. But what made me the most proud, I felt like a mother. He opened a restaurant in North Beach in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
He's Italian, and believe me, and his restaurant in North Beach is Tony's Napolitano, Pizzeria Napolitano.
Uh-huh.
That pizza is from all the different regions. I mean, he's very serious about it. He's studied all the sauces, and his tagline is respect the craft.
North County Daily Star is the leading source for news and community information along the 78 corridor. It's free to subscribe and it is updated daily. Look for us on your mobile device or computer at ncdailystar.com.
Ignoring squeals and warning lights on your car is not a good way to lower the cost of owning it. And going without essential business insurance is not a good way to save money in your business. What we know for sure is doing either will cost you more than you will save in the short and the long run. With YourInsurancePlace.com, you can trust a specialist to help maintain your cars and avoid major expenses. Business owners should look to business insurance specialists when it comes to finding competitively priced, quality insurance coverage for their businesses. At YourInsurancePlace.com, we specialize in workers' compensation, general and professional liability, employment practices and cyber liability, property owner policies, and bonds for most types of businesses. YourInsurancePlace.com knows that we can help. If you're uncovered, need to lower the cost of your current insurance, or need better coverage, we can help. YourInsurancePlace.com has been helping businesses for close to 40 years. If you need a quote on your insurance, call us now at 858-569-8100 or find us at YourInsurancePlace.com. We are business insurance specialists ready to help.
Hi, I'm Jeff Fox, founder of Star Fox Media. We're a digital marketing and video production company that focuses on serving small businesses here in Vista, California. We have the team and all of the equipment necessary to produce, film, edit, and distribute your podcast to as many people as possible. For more information, you can reach out to us via email at info@starfox.media or give us a call at 760-385-3117. Let Star Fox Media help you tell your brand story today.
Established in 2013, Mermaid Valley Vineyard is a boutique winery located in the Ramona Valley, AVA. Nestled amongst the mountains just outside of San Diego, Mermaid Valley has abundant sunshine and cooling coastal breezes, making it an ideal location to produce fine wines. We offer estate-produced white, rosé, and red wines. Come out to Ramona and taste the fine wines at Mermaid Valley Vineyards for yourself. Open by appointment at 760-315-9011 or email at mermaidvineyard@gmail.com.
Anyway, now he's got a little guy. As he's married, he has a son who I just thought he's huge on social media, and his little guy was going, "That's good pizza." He's eating it. So he's passing it on. He's getting it ready for the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, he stands out for me on our local that I saw. I saw this evolution of him,
Right.
just for his love of pizza.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He really loves. I mean, honestly, he's just been amazing. And there's others,
Sure. No, that's a great story.
Yeah, it's really.
It's a great.
really
I thought
fun.
you were going to tell us you told him where to buy his first dough.
No, but I did do a class with him. Like if he blows the dough, I does it for kids and they're stretching. And,
Oh, gosh.
No, he makes his own dough. I can't take credit for that, but
Oh, wow. Oh, funny.
Oh, but he's fun. Yeah, I remember seeing him up at Francis Ford Coppola's winery, and he did a big thing, just throwing dough out in the audience.
Oh, wow.
What?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a
So-
bit about Gumas advertising. What's that about?
Yeah. Advertising. Well, it's about mostly, for me, advertising started in print and evolved from print to digital, like everybody, if you didn't sink or swim. So I would I helped sell advertising in my work at the Tribune. I from the retail level to major accounts to national, and worked with casinos. I worked with movie studios. I worked with their agencies. I worked with local mom and pops throughout my life, and so it's given me a big perspective. And I especially enjoyed doing marketing promotions and things like that. I love that when I could put contests together and work with the community and
That's a lot of work, though. I mean, right? That's a lot of cold calling when it comes to advertising. Is it pronounced Gumas, or is it how do you pronounce it?
So Gumas, yes, and
Gumas.
Gumas is an advertising agency. That's where I am now. Besides all the other, we
Sure.
didn't get into Helios yet, but that's I'm director of operations there, and I'm happy to. It's a new experience because I'm more on the business side, which is another piece that I wanted to develop in myself, even at this time in life. And it's been wonderful. I'm almost 3 years there, so that is it's been a very interesting experience for me coming on the other side of working in advertising where you're helping clients with their campaigns. This is a bigger umbrella with the client. In our case, they are trademark. They're experts at the challenger brand marketing, which is taking a business and helping them compete with the bigger gorillas, so to speak. But
I read that. And I think that was a very important piece. I'd like you to say that again. And I was just trying to look it up, but there was a little tagline there that said, no matter what size you are, that we can help you compete with the big dogs as well.
That's right. And they have the thing about it is it's very strategic, and it helps people. We help them with their branding, their identity, their campaigns, and you can't really do a campaign until you understand the business. I appreciate the strategy around that. There's a team. We're a boutique. I call us a boutique agency, and we care a lot for our clients, and we work closely with them, and it's great to see them be successful. Now, Goomis, and it's owned by John Goomis, who's been in the business now over 36 years. And so he's, done. You probably saw the array of clients, but it's great to see. It's like helping a child grow, because you take these companies and you drill down. You find out what their goals are and you help create their whole messaging, and it runs the gamut. You know what I mean? To help them be successful. That's the bottom line. And we've evolved too. We handle everything from social media to whether it's radio buys or billboards or whatever is the appropriate media plan to help the business.
And that's important too. I mean, when you're starting off, you might not, you think you can do it all, but you really can't. Right. But you need somebody in there who's got the knowledge and who's got the expertise. And you've obviously got a good resume for something like that.
And to help through, people don't have a lot of time, and also you don't want to waste your dollars, right? You have to be efficient. Mm-hmm. It's been great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wanted to make sure that we got a plug in there for Goomis as well. Yeah. But let's get back. I need to talk to you a little bit more about another of your passions, which is more than your passion, which is actually your culture, the Greek culture. Yeah. And there's so much. So before we get into Elios, just tell us a little bit, teach us a little bit. Like I was reading even on your the music website and the CD that you've got out, Mediterranean soul. Like I had never even heard of anything like that, like a term like that. I mean, I don't know what Greek music is specifically, but I don't doubt that you've got a great voice. But I'd definitely like to hear about the influences that go into something called Mediterranean soul.
Well, I'll tell you, I referred to my teenage years when I was with the band. We called ourselves the Arcadians, and we were all kids and having some fun. The thing about Mediterranean soul, the band leader is Chris Sarantakis, who plays the instrument called the bouzouki. Bouzouki looks like a mandolin, has a longer neck and a bigger body, but you've heard it. If you ever watched Zorba the Greek, you've heard Zorba the Greek because are you a baseball fan?
Yes.
Okay, so, every stadium in Major League Baseball always plays and
then speed it up.
But that's what's his name on the trumpet? That's Herb Alpert playing Zorba the Greek on the trumpet. But the original is from Zorba the Greek, the movie with Anthony Quinn, and you'll hear the bouzouki there. So what appealed to me, to answer your question about Mediterranean soul, they existed as a trio instrumentalist, and the reason they picked that name was because it was more of a contemporary Greek band. So there's Greek folk music, which is where you'll see each village and each region in Greece has its own style of dancing. The islands have a different flavor, a different feeling, a light style of dancing, as does our music, compared to the mainland, which is heavier. And their costumes go with the music. And the original folk music has a variety of instruments. And so then you have it evolved, and we don't have enough time to go into all this. I will tell you this, though. I'm going to brag a little. I received a really nice honor from my Oakland community. My buddy Ronnie Stewart, who was the head of the Bay Area Blues Society, the West Coast Blues Society,
Okay.
and years ago they gave me like a lifetime achievement award, as they gave one to my father for helping to promote the blues through my column. So I started, when they presented that award, I started to sing a Greek song, and I said to him, you didn't know that this is the Greek blues. It's called Revetiki. It's the style of music that was like the Greek blues. It's their version. And a lot of lyrics in Greek music reminds me of sometimes lyrics in country music, but anything heartfelt.
Sure.
Beautiful. So Mediterranean Soul, we just thought that name sort of cast a big, kind of a wide net in terms of the style, because we, if you look at any of our CDs, he even plays a little Gypsy Kings on the bouzouki.
Gypsy Kings is great.
Yeah. It's great. And I got to tell you, listen, that CD, the first one we did, it still sells. We did it in, 2005. I don't know if they're downloading, all over the world. Now that's the beauty of the internet, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And your art lasts forever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing, but it's fun. So, Greek music goes back a long ways. You live in San Diego. There's a church down there. They have a Greek festival. I'm sure if you haven't been, you just
I should check it out, huh? It for more than just the cheese, right? I can go get some music. Yeah. I can get some dancing. I would do it. Absolutely.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Cheese?
I'm
there.
You took me up to the Oakland Greek Festival when you were here. The Oakland Ascension Cathedral overlooks the whole Bay Area.
That's awesome.
You have to come back.
Yes. I got no problem coming back.
Yeah. Sweet. But
tell us about the Elios, the Elios Charitable Foundation, the nonprofit.
Yeah, the Elios. So we pronounce it Elios, which means sun in Greek, and sometimes you see that word spelled with an H, but Elios. It was actually the organization began, like over 20 years ago originally, and it was created to help support Hellenic causes. And there was an arm of the Elios Society, which is a membership that helps support the foundation. And through the foundation, we offer grants, and it's often there are Greek organizations, but not exclusively. Anything that helps to promote Hellenic culture, Hellenic causes. For example, the local San Francisco Museum of Fine Arts. They've had a program there where they talk about ancient Greece, and also they have some Cycladic art, and then I have to give you a shout out to the Folk Dance Festival, which actually often takes place down there where you are. Sometimes it's Anaheim, San Diego, Orange County, but almost 3,000 kids come to dance and compete.
Wow.
It's incredible. And that's happened. That's called the Folk Dance and Choral Festival. Of course, because of COVID, they skipped, but they'll be back in 2020, usually President's Weekend. And but Elios supports. That's what we do. And I was on the board for many years, and then a few years back, the executive director had moved on to a different career path, and I was offered the position to do that. And I said yes, because it's sort of a good time. It was just good timing for where my life is at, and I love it because we also are involved with another organization, the National Hellenic Society, which was inspired from Elios on a national scale, and we do some great work, and it's been really rewarding and heartwarming.
So how is that, with the COVID effect here, when we talk about the events because you're doing events as well with this foundation, and I'm sure it's been more difficult, nowadays to do these kind of things, right?
Yeah, but I pulled into my entertainment background, and I didn't let it stop me, because last year we had, for Zoom, we did a few things. We brought in a magician who delivered dinner to everybody, and had a magician doing card tricks. Everybody got a deck of cards. It was totally fun. Ariana Savalas, who was the daughter of Telly Savalas, she did a cabaret show, and kind of holiday songs. That was really fun. They got sweet. We're going to do a drive-in event, and show the film Cliffs of Freedom. So everyone will be in their cars. That's coming up for Greek Independence Day, which is March 25th, next Thursday, 200th anniversary of Greek Independence Day.
All
And
right.
then,
All right.
I know today's St. Patrick's Day, but and then we have some great events coming. What we've done is done some Zoom events coming up. We're going to do a truffle shuffle where everyone's cooking with. That's a company. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's fabulous. They send you a kit. You pick your meal. You cook with them. They're totally hip and lively and fun.
Shout out to Truffle Shuffle. That sounds awesome.
They're really good, and they have music at the end. I just tried one, and they had the gentleman from Hamilton sing it. It was fantastic. And then we got that coming up. That's at home in your kitchen.
Mhm.
I've got, but then we hope at the end of the year to start to be able to do some face-to-face
Sure.
things. And we do a big gala every other year, and we moved it to 2020. So where we honor prominent Greeks in arts and entertainment, and that's where we raise big money for our foundation.
I think you're going to have to give me some more names because I just got embarrassed right now. Are you telling me Kojak was Greek?
Yeah.
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 I should have known that. I should have known it. I should have known it.
Kelly is short for Aristoteles. That's the Greek.
Okay.
And you want to know something? You wouldn't know this, but Kojak, they always had the lollipop, right?
Uh-huh.
The Greeks would always watch his show because he always had some kind of little Greekness going on somewhere.
Yeah,
It was
quick, a
either
little
on
shout
a
out.
plate, or there was a taxa bottle, or there was a whiskey over there.
I love it. I love it.
Product placement, right?
Yeah,
Product placement.
that's awesome. He's just shouting you guys out. He's remember where he came from. Give me one more name, maybe somebody I didn't know that was Greek. Who's another famous name I didn't know was Greek?
Well, I mean, what generation? You
might go, but you might go beyond what I can remember.
I know one you wouldn't know he was necessarily he's Greek. Do you know Tony Orlando, the singer?
Yes.
He's before your time, but he was famous for tie yellow ribbon around the old.
Yeah. No, he had a great voice.
Yeah,
he was Greek.
He's still doing that. He's half Greek and half Puerto Rican, so he calls himself a Greek-Rican.
I love it.
Oh no, there's you can usually tell by the last name, but I
mean, Telly kind of threw me off. I never, but who wants to dig into something like that? And you pronounce it differently too. You call it because most would say Aristotle, right? And how did you say his name?
Right, I said in Greek, Aristoteles,
and that's why they call him Telly.
So what's his name? Chris with a K from Las Vegas, who has his own show. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Oh gosh darn it!
Now I know how long it's been since I've been to Vegas.
He's the big magic guy, just with kind of dark.
Oh, the magic. Oh, Chris Angel.
Thank you.
Yes.
He's Greek.
Is he?
He's Greek.
Okay. That was the lesson. We appreciate the lesson.
Now I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, and I have to for a perspective, is that my daughter grew up to be a beautiful, great, strong young woman who gave me 3 grandchildren, and all 3 of my grandchildren Greek dance.
They dance.
Cool. Very
and
cool.
They kill it. They're good.
Oh, wow.
They're good. So it continues through another generation. That's
right.
why I do what I do. To the next, you know what I mean?
That's right.
We have to help the greater community, and we also help our family.
That's right. That's right.
Let's step into my book corner.
Okay.
Frosene, I'm an avid reader. I'm always looking for something new to read, and so I like to ask our guests recommendations, specifically about books that have inspired you on your journey.
Wow.
Something that you have looked to, you go back to it and think, oh, this has made me think about what I'm doing now. It doesn't have to be a book, media in general, if you have something else that you want to give a mention to, but anything that has been inspirational towards your path.
So many sources. I will say that, the things that resonated and stayed with me is there was a book called Back to the Past, Widow, and there was not too much to read about back then. Now with all the loss that's happening collectively, there's more support, for each other and all that, and there wasn't back then. And then another big book, which I wouldn't, that helped me and inspired me, was called Death and Dying, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, but there was also some books for children. So I kind of delved into that. But I have so many, gosh, I will say Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda was like, even to this day, the woman inspires me. Look she just got vaccinated and she's out there shaking it up again. But I was all in doing when her exercise was big. I love.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about the exercise plan.
And I just bought Norma Kamali's new book. She's 75. It's like I look ahead to. I always look ahead in my life. I've lived my life, even though I have things from the past. I still look for new inspiration all the time. So, there's markers and. Gosh, I'm trying to think. Even reading, like when history. It just varies. I've been following on Twitter. I like to follow Matthew Dowd because he starts every day with a quote or someone's birthday, and he starts with positive. I'm trying to seek out all the positive stuff now. I'm tired of all the negative, and so, right?
Good for you, absolutely.
I don't know. And if I forgot anything in particular that was like a big one, then I'll text you.
Oh yeah, we'll put it on our Instagram.
But I'm always reading a gazillion things. I went through my politics side, and I've got all kinds of interests.
Mm-hmm. On our way out, though, Frosene, help us again speak to our young entrepreneurs, and it doesn't matter what age they are, people who are looking to start something, who are looking to, kind of, step over into, business ownership, who want to do their thing, who are kind of hesitating and haven't pulled the trigger. I know it's difficult at these times for some people to kind of figure out how they're going to navigate it or what, but it can be done. And I think you are a perfect person to let them know that. So what would you say to them?
I would tell you, there's a lot of young people, like if you look at Sophia Amoroso, I don't know if you know her, but she's a young woman in her early 30s, and she's an inspiration to read about her. She wrote a book called Nasty Gal, which she has started 3 different businesses now, but she started on eBay selling her, she was shopping, and going to vintage stores and selling on eBay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, this whole evolution happened, and she was getting. Her story is fascinating, and she's right in your sweet spot of young people. Then she created a business called Girl Boss, which is based on her book, and that has got. They're helping empower young people to learn how to save money, how to it's resourceful. I find these kinds of things exciting.
Right.
That and when you're in your 20s, you shouldn't be afraid. That is the chance to try everything because you don't have as much to lose. You know what I mean? You're going to lose, but you know what? Losing is good because you don't learn if you don't lose. And you read about her and you'll see. I just think that people that if you just keep going and going and you haven't been knocked down at all, it's going to happen sooner or later. That's how life is. I always look at it. It goes like this, right?
Right.
So my position is I know it's going to be down here, but then when it comes up, you got to ride the wave because it's going to dip again. So get all your tools in order. But I think that as a young person, that with the social media and the things that are available there's all this creativity. I remember I had a friend who once said he's very successful businessman. He said, you're just to the young people, you're just one app away from being a millionaire. Now we've moved on to other things. But I think that out of this, we're going to see more creativity.
Right.
We're going to be living differently. We're going to be working differently. You know what I mean? I don't think I used to commute to San Francisco we're not now because we've all been we're all home,
Right.
and we're going to stay that way. But we'll do like a meeting places, and I think we're going to see a change in a lot of ways as it starts to open up again, and like the Renaissance, So I would be encouraged about take your passion and see what you can do with it. Right?
Absolutely, 100%, and we appreciate that. That's such a great message, right? And I really want to encourage our audience to understand exactly what you're saying. And if you don't get it all from this podcast, reach out to Frosene, because she's obviously she's got the mind for it. She's got the great ideas, and she's got the spirit. She's got the spirit that if we either wish we had or wish we know somebody who had it. I really think that you brought great energy to this episode, and thanks so much, Frosene, for being our guest today.
You. I feel like we have to extend a hand
That's
to
right.
each other, right?
That's right. That's what it's all about here.
That's because we have one go around here, so you make them up. And again, half empty or half full. I chose the positive.
That's right.
There you go.
Let's get some contact info, Alyssa.
Absolutely. If you want to check out Frosene, go to her website. It's froseneonthescene.com. Facebook at Frosene on the Scene, and Twitter at Frosene. That's Frosene spelled Frosene. And Frosene has offered up her email, Frosene at froseneonthescene.com. So get in touch if you want to get some advice from the wonderful, energetic Frosene.
My sister called it Frosene.
I love it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Same Business, Different Day podcast. Special thanks to Star Fox Media for video production and James Russell on music production. Please like and subscribe to the Same Business, Different Day podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Same business, different day.